For those of you that know me personally or we're friends on Facebook, you know I'm kind of a Guns N' Roses super fan. And it's weird to call myself a super fan because I have a horrible memory. So at least 50% of the time, I can't even recall the names of the 5 original band members, as they came up on the Sunset Strip and recorded Appetite for Destruction. So it's weird to call yourself a super fan when sometimes you can't remember the 5th band member. But I do know that the 6th band member, or affectionately called the 6th band member of Guns N' Roses in those early days, was this guy named Mark Cantor. And Mark Cantor's parents, I believe, owned like a small record shop in Delhi over off of Sunset. He was Slash's best friend. And from the very, very, very early days, like Slash's very first performance at Fairfax High, Mark Cantor was there taking pictures. So as Slash's best friend and then kind of the best friend of the band, he had a front row seat for the development and formation of Guns N' Roses. He was there for all the first shows. He got to have some film and take pictures of basically their journey into making Appetite for Destruction, which is super, super cool. So Mark Cantor is friends with this guy named Jason Porath, and Jason Porath just released the first couple episodes of what's called 50 First Gigs. So if you're a rock and roll fan, if you like kind of that behind the music vibe, if you're a Guns N' Roses fan for sure, you've got to jump on Patreon. You got to pay the $5. I think there's like a $5 level, a $15 level, a $25 level, something like that. Pay at least the $5 so you can get access to this podcast because it's not going to be released for free because Mark Cantor and Jason Porath had to put a lot of time and energy and money into this. And I actually reached out unsolicited to Jason Porath, didn't know who he was, didn't have any friends in common, but reached out, just told him what a huge fan I was, that I saw GNR in LA 2 weeks ago, and then I saw him in Vegas last week with my 5-year-old, that I'm a huge fan of what he's doing, paid kind of the premium subscription on Patreon for $25 a month. And he responded, and super cool guy. So we're trying to work out having him on the podcast. He's going to talk about season 2 because they've actually wrapped up season 1. It's getting released weekly. I think we're on episode 3 with some bonus material. Very, very, very cool. If you were a fan of that VH1 television show Behind the Music, where you're like, oh, I didn't know that about that band, or all of a sudden the story of 10,000 Maniacs or Alice in Chains or Motley Crue is super interesting. If you like that kind of genre, you don't even have to be a Guns N' Roses fan to really get into this podcast because they talk about the early days and they talk about kind of the development of the Sunset Strip from the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s and how it kind of came to be what it is today as this epicenter for entertainment. So can't say enough good things about the podcast. If you're a music fan, a rock fan, a Guns N' Roses fan for sure, pay the $5, get the podcast. Hopefully we'll be talking to Jason Porath here in the next couple weeks and we'll go from there. So that's Scott's first thought. And now we're going to go into some complaining and some concerns.